What did you think of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness? How about the surprise characters that we saw along the way? Were you hoping to see some other classic cameos? Did you maybe miss a few? Well, you're in luck, as this is a place to come to find out. Welcome back to Comets Top 5s, where today we'll be counting down our picks for the top 5 best cameos in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. If you want to see more content like this, make sure you like this video, hit that subscribe button, and click that bell icon for notifications on upcoming content. With that said, let's jump right into our top 5 picks, shall we? Number 5, Captain Carter. To start off this list, we had to have the what-if version of Captain America, where Peggy Carter got the super soldier serum, aka Captain Carter. Captain Carter is the first Avenger of Earth 818, and one of the founding members of the Illuminati in this universe. We get to see her put up a good fight in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and she even got to throw in Steve's classic line, "I can do this all day," during her fight with the Scarlet Witch. In this fight, it was apparent that she couldn't do it all day, as she was defeated relatively quickly by Scarlet Witch. But she did last longer than most of them, so I gotta give her some props. What's even cooler about Captain Carter is that we also got to see a different version of her in the multiverse, in the What If TV show, where she becomes a part of the Guardians of the Multiverse, fighting off a bloodthirsty Killmonger and a power-crazed Ultron. Needless to say, I am sure we will get to see a lot more of this character, not only in the comics, but in the future of the multiverse as well. Hayley Atwell did a great job of portraying Peggy Carter, and it was really cool to finally get to see her donning her own suit. Number 4, Black Bolt. Now I'm sure a lot of you are wondering why they included Black Bolt in the Illuminati. Even more so, why they used the same actor from the TV show that flopped all those years ago. Well, that's simple. As in the comics, Black Bolt was one of the founding members, and although his first TV appearance might have been subpar, he's not a character you want to sleep on. Blackagar Boltagon, while in utero, was exposed to the Terrigen Mist, giving him abilities that far exceeded those of any normal Inhumans. He was so strong, he was placed in a soundproof room and taught to control his abilities for 19 years, before finally being able to enter into society. After that, Black Bolt gets busy doing what Black Bolt does best, kicking ass without saying a single word. Not even a month after his release, Black Bolt was fighting to stop the Kree. Not long after that, he went on to do many amazing things, including becoming the king of the Inhumans. Getting to see Black Bolt in his iconic costume as part of the Illuminati was really awesome, and it was even more hilarious when we got to see the darker side of having these abilities. Unlike when we saw him in the Inhumans TV show, where he was always so serious. The best part of this cameo was when he faced off against Wanda and quite literally lost his mind. For those of you who saw it, you know what I mean. Number 3, Charles Xavier. We had to roll out the welcome mat for one of our most beloved leaders of the X-Men, Charles Xavier, as his showing of Professor X not only brought back nostalgia, but much love, as most of the current MCU veterans grew up with Patrick Stewart's version of Charles Xavier. From starting the school for gifted youngsters, to also being a founding member of the X-Men, X-Corporation, New Mutants, and Illuminati, Charles Xavier remains one of the most classic characters in Marvel Comics, and now potentially the MCU. His telepathic fight with Scarlet Witch was not only an epic battle between two of the strongest telepaths, but it was also kind of horrifying as we see Professor X pull a classic move in order to save someone from the inside. Unfortunately, while the movie did him no justice with the Scarlet Witch prevailing over Professor X, it was still great to see this old gen Fox character face off against a newer and improved MCU character. Now the only thing we have to worry about is if Marvel and Star Trek start fighting over Patrick Stewart for the future of their franchises. Hopefully Captain Picard doesn't take over Professor X, but regardless of who plays this iconic character, I hope the core of this character never changes. Number 2, Mr. Fantastic. It's not that far of a stretch, but it is no surprise that we all love John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Not only is he the leader of the Fantastic Four, he's one of the smartest people in the multiverse, and a founding member of the Illuminati team. What's even crazier is that he even forms a multiversal team of Reed Richards, known as the Interdimensional Council of Reeds, that helps maintain balance in the multiverse. Now I'm sure a lot of you are having a what the fuck moment if you haven't read the comics. But I assure you this is real, and it's all thanks to a couple versions of Reed obtaining their universe's Infinity Gauntlet. Sorry not sorry, Thanos. To finally see John Krasinski in the role of Mr. Fantastic was an absolute treat, as he has been the fan cast for this character for years. Only thing about John as Mr. Fantastic in this film is the fact the smartest man in the universe can't seem to keep his mouth shut when revealing his team's power to the enemy. So he kinda got what was coming. Regardless, even if he isn't the main MCU Reed Richards, it was truly awesome to get to see John in this role, and I hope in the multiverse of events we get to see him again. Now we can't have a top 5 list without some honorable mentions. Zombie Strange. Although we didn't get to see Zombie Strange from Earth 2149, it was cool to get to see a version of this iconic character, bones and all. Zombie Strange remains to be a new addition to the MCU officially, but getting to see a take on this version in Multiverse of Madness was surprisingly satisfying. It wasn't the classic Zombie Strange that we see in the comics, but what makes this version so fun is the idea of Zombie Strange, or this universe, being a Dreamcast version of the MCU Doctor Strange, taking over the body of Defender Strange, basically making this cameo even more awesome than it already was. What I really liked about this plot device in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness was how creative they got with existing characters to bring in classic versions from the comics, without making it overly complicated. This even gave us a comedic horror aura in the MCU, which was oddly really well done. Good job, Sam Raimi. Living Tribunal. Of course, we cannot forget to mention the cosmic being who keeps the multiverse in balance, and is the personification of multiversal law, the Living Tribunal. What is super fascinating about this character is he is the only version of himself in the entire multiverse. Beyond that, he is also the representative for the one above all, giving him the highest authority in the multiverse. You could say he is the judge, jury, and executioner. While we only get one glimpse of him while Strange and America were falling through the different universes, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness introduced a character who has a bright future in the MCU, and a very intense rep to uphold from the comic books. Ultron robots. Now, we can't do an honorable mentions list without Ultron. Now, of course, we don't really get to see Ultron in this film, only his robots. With the cameos from his robots, we can definitely conclude that Ultron does exist in this universe, and that he was either defeated or joined the Earth's mightiest heroes. It was probably the latter of the two, but I would like to think Ultron still exists, and maybe he is using his powers for good. Just kidding. As we all know, Ultron is at his best when he's doing something nefarious. It leads me to believe, since they are using his tech, maybe Ultron is still up to no good in this universe. Trojan horses work well. Number 1. Clea Strange. Flying in at number 1, we had to have the future wife of Doctor Strange, Clea Strange. Well, in the comics, she is currently Doctor Strange's wife, but in the MCU, she was just introduced for an appearance in his next movie. You can kind of see where they are trying to go with it in the MCU, with her introduction, if you've read the comics, but that's besides the point. She's also the niece of Dormammu and the current Sorcerer Supreme of the Dark Dimension. Yeah, remember that freaky scene we got in Doctor Strange in the Dark Dimension in his first movie? Yeah, Clea is that being's sister's daughter. And man, is she a powerhouse. Clea to this day remains to be one of the most powerful practitioners of the mystic arts, mainly due to the fact that she is half Faultine and half Dark Dimension mortal. Her powers revolve mainly around sorcery, giving her insane abilities like flight, teleportation, thought casting, molecular rearrangement, energy blasts, and the flames of Faultine, which give her an even bigger power boost. Even though her and her family are heavily involved with the Dark Dimension and worshipping Dormammu, later on Clea makes her own image and doesn't let her past dictate who she becomes. Not to mention, we got a fantastic actress like Charlize Theron playing this iconic badass character, and I'm super excited to see her debut in future Marvel projects. Well, that's all I've got for you today. What did you think of our top 5 picks? Who would you have added or changed? You can let us know by dropping a comment down below. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, as well as smashing that subscribe button and bell icon to stay updated on our latest content as it comes out. As always, thanks for tuning in to Comets Top 5s, and I will see you on our next Top 5 video.